Hi, Bill Yannick here, Connects of MCO. Welcome to the Daily Grind. And today on the Daily Grind, we're going to talk building automation systems. We're going to talk ESG, a whole bunch of stuff. We're with Zack Cornwell, a subject matter expert, highly engaged Connects FM member. He's with enterprise sales at Facility Solutions Group. Zack, welcome to the Daily Grind.
Thanks for having me. How are you guys doing today?
Great, great. Well, I'm outing myself as a Kansas City Chief fan. For our audience, that's my voice. It's either allergies or scratchiness because I was yelling too much, but we'll leave that. We have a lot of Philadelphia members too. I need to be very careful. So, Zack, did you have any dog in the fight for the Super Bowl?
No, we just enjoyed some good family time, but it was a good game.
Good stuff. All right, so let's start with a little more of an introduction of who you are and what you do with Facility Solutions Group.
Yeah, so my name's Zack Cornwell. I help run the sales efforts on Facility Solutions Group Smart Buildings division, and I help sell building automation into multi-site facilities, QSRs, C stores, small box retail.
Great. Okay, so I mentioned at the top we're going to talk building automation systems and ESG. Let's start a little bit with ESG and ESG data, which links into what you do. So there's definitely been a movement towards socially responsible investors or people or investors that are interested in socially responsible businesses and initiatives. So with ESG data, how does that feed into it? How does it appeal to those types of investors?
Yeah, so I like to call it kind of telling a story. So having accurate data is good, but you've got to start somewhere and you've got to start reporting and gathering data, and building automation allows you to have real-time data and real-time energy usage into that. And conveying that into messaging, sharing the successes can also attract customers. And those customers with their aligned values can also attract organically other customers or shareholders or investors. The same thing applies. It's kind of this cascading effect. Where you organically find people or investors that align with what your message is as a company for sustainability, and it's about communicating that.
Good deal. Well, certainly ESG can cut both ways, and as we tell our FMs, we try to help at Connects FM. You need to be cognizant of it, conversant about it, and have the data to back up the plan. Now, and ESG can be scary because sometimes it's probably made too complicated, right? But what are some easy wins? So if you're an FM out there and you're going to hear ESG from the C-suite filter down to what are some easy wins that an FM can look at so that they get on this track to being more proficient in ESG and helping their business?
Yeah, so the fastest way to verify ESG success begins with the E. Sustainability and corporate are long-term projects, but the easiest impact is going to be on the environmental side, and that's with more of the energy saving side. There was a report a few years ago from the Carbon Trust. It's the Better Business Guide to Energy Savings, and they said that 20% cut in energy costs can deliver the same bottom line as a 5% increase in sales. So building automation can impact this stuff as soon as it's turned on. You're controlling set points, best practices can immediately impact that energy usage within your facilities.
Right. So that is how the building automation systems can support this ESG. And you bring up a great point there too, because yes, all businesses or most want more sales, but there's a third party, and this is something you can do internally, impact the bottom line that you have some control over. And I assume that building automation systems give you more of that control.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so we often talk about using building automation systems, but not often the types of buildings that might be most conducive if you're just getting started or you want to implement one. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so the type of buildings that can impact the most are medium office, small office spaces, standalone retail, strip mall retail, even supermarkets and primary schools. And the easy benefit, and I think the first step to get people into acknowledging that, hey, we should look at a building automation system, is the ease of install, the easy wins that you get, kind of the low hanging fruit benefits.
Mhm.
And so the type of buildings that would benefit the most, and percentage wise, are, there's been some studies showing that, in standalone retail, they can see savings up to 15 to 16%. Strip mall retail is 12 to 13%. Big box supermarkets, 10 to 13%. So doesn't matter what format of store you have, you're going to see energy savings.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I mentioned earlier that ESG can cut both ways, and one way in which it could probably be a negative is if you start to make assertions and commitments but don't have the data to back that up. What's been your experience with that, or what's your advice?
Yeah, so there's the term greenwashing.
Yep.
Comes around a lot, and there's a lot of varying views on ESG and the legality behind it and the standards set. And I think it's more on the perception. And if you do get caught in a greenwashing situation, obviously that's going to diminish your brand reputation, the way that investors look at you. Investors might pull out, but it's good intentions can be lost in a story without having verifiable data. So a company might have really good expectations and they have an ESG and sustainability plan, but if they're not conveying real data, that story doesn't really hold any weight to it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of mixed signals, again, varying knowledge from shareholders, and it's the company's job to educate their employees, their shareholders, and their customers on what their ESG plan is.
Interesting. Okay, well, last question, talk a little bit about, I know at Connects FM we're involved in several groups, and decarbonizing the commercial built environment is a big deal. Getting fossil fuels out of commercial construction. What are your thoughts and maybe some examples you've seen of communities and businesses working together to make that happen?
Yeah, I think communities and even local municipalities and certain counties, they pass their own laws. I know, like in Washington D.C., they're very aggressive on moving towards electrifying buildings and kind of getting away from like even gas and gas-based appliances. So things like that. But you get organizations like ASHRAE, the Department of Energy, IECC, and right now ASHRAE 90.1. It's implementing all these best practices to really at some point, it's not going to happen overnight, but the direction towards like net zero.
Yep.
And electrifying buildings is probably one of the biggest ones that we see right now. But again, this stuff doesn't happen overnight.
And what we tell our members, and as you know, Zach, it's important to follow those building standards, because that's where it's coming from. The groups like ASHRAE or the National Institute of Building Sciences is one that Connects FM is involved in. We're at the early stages of a lot of this stuff, but you need to follow it. And I'm sure our FMs would do well just to be cognizant of ESG, building automation systems, and certainly what's happening with decarbonization and getting fossil fuels out of construction. Okay, so before we let you go, we always ask the toughest question. We'll ask you all day, Zach. We know you're going to be at our national conference, Connects FM 2023. What are you most looking forward to when we get there in about 60 or so days?
I think it's the people aspect, seeing new and old friends, also getting to understand the FM's day-to-day stories and what they're seeing on the ground as far as technology goes, the needs and wants around energy management and building automation.
Awesome stuff. And the numbers are looking good. Zach, we'll see you in person real soon. Thank you for being on the Daily Grind and all you do at Connects FM. For audience out there, the Daily Grind is on demand at connectsfm.com. Have a good one.